Thank you for taking care of that troublesome old man all this time. Now, I'm finally free.
What are you talking about? We're at my father-in-law's funeral.
You were always his favorite, weren't you? Who do you think has been taking care of your wheelchair-bound father-in-law in my place all this time? I even quit my job because it was physically demanding. And I've been doing this for 15 years. You must have been sucking up to your father-in-law. I wonder what kind of care you were giving him. I couldn't hold back my anger at these words.
Isn't that disrespectful to my father-in-law?
Hit a nerve, did I?
Enough! You were just after his inheritance. Don't think you'll get a penny from me. Just go away.
Indeed, my relationship with my mother-in-law was never good after I started caregiving. But I didn't deserve to be spoken to like this. The argument between me and my mother-in-law escalated. I wasn't going to back down. Isn't it you who wants the inheritance?
What an insolent woman.
Don't mess with me. With that, she raised her arm to hit me. Doing that won't solve anything.
So what? I've never once seen you as family. You're nothing but a stranger.
Then, my husband, who had been silently watching our exchange from a distance, slowly approached.
Say something, will you? We don't need a greedy woman in our house. Just disappear.
Well, now you understand your place. She looked at me and laughed. I realized then that my husband had abandoned me too. Yes. That was all I could reply. As I turned to leave the funeral, someone called out.
Wait a minute!
I turned around. And then, things took a dramatic turn. My husband turned the tables, and my mother-in-law was about to face her own hell. My name is Mia Stone, and it's been 20 years since I got married. Life with my husband, Sean, has been smooth sailing ever since. We didn't have children, but we worked together to make a life for ourselves.
Hey, I found a nice cafe. Want to check it out sometime? Sure, sounds great. Where is it? It's not too far from here.
Really? I didn't know about it. I didn't know that either. The next weekend, we went to the cafe. While enjoying a coffee and chatting, my phone rang. Isn't that your phone? Yeah, just a sec. Sean stepped away to answer the call. I thought it was a work call and waited while sipping my coffee, but even after 15 minutes, he hadn't returned. As I was worrying about what was wrong, my husband came over to me from the other side with a pale face. I asked him, "What's wrong?" "It's my dad, he's been in an accident."
What?
He got hit by a car.
That's terrible. We should go right away.
Yeah. Supporting my stunned husband, we left the cafe. His father was in critical condition and undergoing emergency surgery. The call had been from my mother-in-law. We rushed to the hospital she had mentioned. It took us about an hour to get there, and my mother-in-law was waiting. "You're here?" "Yes." "How's Dad?" "Still in surgery." "I see." We waited in the lounge for the surgery to end. It lasted 10 hours. The surgery was successful, but the consequences were severe.
No way! I can't believe this.
His father would now have to live the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Sean's mood darkened since then.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You don't look good.
Sorry for bothering you.
Don't say that. We're wife and husband, we support each other.
Gradually, Sean began to recover from his father's accident. One Sunday, I was about to take him out to cheer him up, when the doorbell rang. "Hey. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you about something important." "Something important? Let me come in for a bit." But we sat down in the living room, and she began. "What did you want to talk about?" "It's about your father-in-law. I need help with his care." "Care?" "Yes. I don't have the strength to support him by myself." "All right, we'll move in with you to help out." "What?" I was surprised by my husband's immediate decision. It wasn't that I was against living together, but the suddenness of it all left me unable to gather my thoughts. Then, I'll be counting on you. Yeah. I'll get in touch with the details later. Then she left. I immediately asked my husband about the conversation. What was that all about? About Dad's care? Yes. It would be tough for Mom alone. I get that, but still.
Please!
He pleads with me to do so. I can't easily refuse. A month later, we received a call from my mother-in-law, and it was decided that we would move to my in-laws' house. I quit my job as an office worker. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. I'm relying on you, she said with a smile. But not a positive meaning. It felt like she was looking down on me. Then I said hello to my father-in-law. Ms. Mia, thank you for coming all this way. No, I was hoping to help in any way I can. I've become like this. I might continue to inconvenience you in the future, but please bear with me. Yes, of course. He smiled at me, but there was a certain sadness in his demeanor. He'd been dedicated to his work and held an important position in the company. He always put his family first. When I think about him, living in a wheelchair and not being able to move freely, it must have been incredibly tough above all else. However, there was no time to dwell on emotions. I'm going out today, so I'm leaving everything to you.
Wait a minute, please.
She left without paying heed to my call. I knew caregiving wasn't easy, but there are limits to what one person can do alone. Despite knowing this, she never participated in the caregiving. She left everything to me, even though she could have helped. Could you please help with father-in-law's meals? What? Why do I have to do it? Because. My mother-in-law sighed. I told you before, didn't I? I'm physically not up for it. Did you forget? Of course I remember, but I can't just do caregiving alone. Isn't that just an excuse? I didn't mean it that way. I can't be sure about that. Realizing she wouldn't listen to anything I said, I decided to consult with my husband. What? So you're saying I have to do it all alone from now on? I really feel bad about it. But I'm busy with work, and I don't think Mom means to be mean to you. I wondered if he was serious. However, I never said these thoughts. I feared that bringing this up would put him in a difficult position between his mother and me, and I didn't want to burden him. I'll try a bit harder. That would really help me. More changes were yet to come, leaving me feeling even more lost. The solo caregiving continued. Are you pushing yourself too hard, Mia? No, not at all. I hope so. Please take it easy, too. I can't walk, but I need to do at least this much. He tried to do whatever he could by himself, such as dressing. It was his way of trying not to be a burden. However, my mother-in-law didn't seem to care about his efforts. She never helped with the caregiving. Mia, can you hurry up with the meal preparation? I'll do it right away. I appreciate the caregiving, but you need to take care of the household chores as well. I understand, but... Do you have a complaint? Honestly, I had a lot of complaints. But I kept them to myself, not wanting to trouble my husband or my father-in-law. This only seemed to encourage my mother-in-law's ill treatment. And things got worse. It was 6 years after I had started caring for my father-in-law. I'll be assigned to a solo mission starting next month. What, a solo mission? She was in the living room too, and at that moment, she looked at me and smirked. I'm sorry, it was decided suddenly. How long will it be? Maybe 1 or 2 years. So, does that mean you won't know when you'll be coming back? Looks like it. No way. Then she said, It's fine. Sean is working hard for the family, after all. I understand that, but I know it's a burden on you too. Don't worry. Mia and I will work together as we have been. After that, my husband left. Although he had never been actively involved in the caregiving, just having him around had been a great support for me. From the day after he left, my mother-in-law became even more tyrannical than before.
From now on, you'll follow my instructions for everything. But it's always been like that.
What are you talking about?
It's not been like that at all. Well then, I'm counting on you for the housework.
Where are you going?
I'm off on a trip with my friends from today.
Bye. And she really did leave for her trip. Something happened? She went on a trip. She didn't say anything. And I can't believe she left you behind. I found myself complaining to my father-in-law. She's always disliked me. What do you mean? It's more that she has held grudges from our younger days. I put a lot of strain on her. I had never heard of such a thing, not even from Sean. He was too young at the time. Then, my father-in-law began to share his memories, one by one. He had been quite a domineering husband in his youth. However, this attitude faded as Sean grew up. He even apologized to my mother-in-law once. I apologized once, but perhaps she's still holding on to it. I see. Our conversation deepened my relationship with my father-in-law, who had always been kind before I married into the family. I devoted myself to supporting him as best as I could. My mother-in-law returned 3 days later. I'm back. Welcome home.
It was so much fun. Too bad you couldn't come.
Indeed. You don't respond well to me. You're a boring woman. There's no need to go out of my way to do things exactly as my mother-in-law. Moreover, no matter what I ask her, she never takes it seriously. I thought if I kept ignoring her, eventually she would give up and settle down. But, it turns out, Susan isn't the kind of person to give up that easily. Where are you heading off to? Just for a walk. Staying inside all day is so depressing, isn't it? She seemed pleased to say she would accompany me. I firmly declined, of course. Why don't you take a break today, Mia? But he says it's okay, right? So, it's settled. Meanwhile, you can take care of the house. It had been 15 years since I started living in my in-laws' house. Despite feeling uneasy, I saw them off. It was just a walk, so I tried not to worry too much. Then she came back an hour later. However, there was no sign of father-in-law. Where's father-in-law? What? Oh, I forgot him. What? Where did I leave him? Susan showed no sign of remorse.
This is unbelievable. Where is he?
I'm old, my memory isn't what it used to be.
Don't be silly. Please, tell me where he is.
I'm telling you, I don't remember. Why don't you go look for him? I immediately left the house. Without any idea where he might be, I decided to check the usual walking routes. No matter how much I searched, I couldn't find him. After about an hour, I finally found him in a park on a small hill. The place was a park located on a small hill. Hello? Mia.
Thank goodness you're safe. Sorry to have troubled you like this.
It's okay. Let's head back home. The place where father-in-law was found overlooked the town, but it was up a long slope. It was difficult for him to return alone with his weakened physical condition. Why did this have to happen? She hated me so much. From now on, I'll come with you. When my father-in-law and I got home, she was relaxing on the sofa.
Oh. You found him. That's not the way to put it, is it? You did it on purpose, didn't you?
Oh, stop. There's no proof of that.
Leaving him in such a place, what else could it be but intentional?
She just sat there, smirking confidently. Well, everything will become clear tomorrow. What are you talking about? The next morning, as I went out to take out the trash, the neighbors were whispering and looking at me. I became curious if something had happened to them and tried to ask, but they hastily left, avoiding the conversation. Wondering if I had done something wrong, I threw out the trash and was about to go back inside. Good morning. Mrs. Johnson, who lives 2 houses down from our in-laws, greeted me. I had become quite friendly with Mrs. Johnson ever since we moved here. Actually, I was shocked by what she told me. It turns out that Susan had been blaming me for everything that happened yesterday and had been spreading rumors about it in the neighborhood. She even did that. She even told me what a terrible daughter-in-law you are, but I know you, Mia, and it doesn't seem like you at all. I'm glad to hear you say that. I was only angry at my mother-in-law for even doing this. Being falsely accused and having lies spread about me to people who have nothing to do with it was unbelievable. That night, I called my husband. How's life over there? It's going all right. Why, what's up? It's about your mother. I explained everything, including Susan's recent outrageous actions. I see. His reaction was subdued. Almost as if he didn't care. I lost my temper at his reaction. What? Is that all you have to say? You don't care? Of course I care. Then what do you mean? After a brief silence, he said. Just give me a little time, okay? I do care, really. So I can count on you? Yes. I hung up, feeling uncertain whether to trust him. He asked for time, but nothing was concrete. Following that, I was increasingly seen by the neighbors as the worst daughter-in-law, mistreating my father-in-law. The bullying from Susan continued, and I was reaching my breaking point both mentally and physically. I've managed to get things sorted to come back next month. Really? Yeah. So, hang in there. Okay. It was a ray of hope for me, who was feeling completely worn down. I'll be waiting then. With my husband's return, I hoped to put an end to her tyranny. I even thought of it as a form of revenge for all she had done. But little did I know, a further tragedy was about to befall me. I had no doubts that with my husband's return, I would finally be freed from this hellish situation.
Welcome back. I've caused you a lot of trouble. From now on, we're in this together.
Despite my anxieties about him, his words dispelled all my fears. Then he began to spend a lot of time talking with my father-in-law. But never shared the details, saying it was a secret. 2 months after my husband returned, I found myself in a new situation. Are you okay? While I was taking care of his meals, he would vomit. He was unable to eat and was getting weaker day by day. Even then, my mother-in-law, Susan, didn't show any concern for him. Is the food too bland again? I made it mild so that he could eat it easily.
What? Why do I have to eat the same food as him? Go make something else.
That's too much, Mom.
It's not too much. After all, we'll be saying goodbye to him soon anyway.
Her words implied she wished for his quick passing. This prompted a strong response from my husband.
That's an unacceptable thing to say.
No matter what you say, the fact is the fact. My father-in-law's condition never improved and he eventually had to be hospitalized. It was quite serious. Physically, he must have been suffering a lot. What should we do now? Let's do what we can. Right now, the best thing we can do is to visit him as much as possible. Right. That's a good idea. My husband and I would visit the hospital whenever we could. On the other hand, she never once visited him in the hospital. I repeatedly urged her to go, but she wouldn't listen. I was further surprised by my husband's reaction. Why not? Just let it be. Don't say anything more to Mom. Why? Doesn't Dad deserve better?
Just do as I say.
I was puzzled by his sudden assertiveness. Every time I tried to say something to her, he would intervene and stop me. Seeing that, she began to mock me even more.
It's a shame. Looks like you don't have any allies anymore. How dare you?
Well, it's the truth. I felt utterly alone. In the midst of this despair. One night, my husband received a call from the hospital. Dad. What happened? We rushed to the hospital. Only to be faced with a shocking reality.
No way!
Caring for father-in-law was undoubtedly challenging, but he was an important part of our lives. His death left a gaping hole in my heart. Seeing him cold on the hospital bed, I couldn't hold back my tears. Memories of our time together flashed through my mind. My husband also cried, regretting not being more filial. But she was already thinking ahead. Well, we should keep the funeral simple, right? Hearing this, my anger peaked. Don't you have any grief for your husband's death? He's already gone, no point in grieving. Funerals are expensive, you know. I couldn't believe Susan was worrying about money in such a situation. It seemed she had no heart. Then, sighing, she left the room. I wanted to confront her, but my husband held me back. Why are you stopping me? Now's not the time for that. His words calmed me down, and I cherished the last moments with father-in-law. Then, the busyness of funeral preparations and contacting relatives began. I had no time to worry about her. She left all the preparations to us and went out to enjoy herself. On the day of the funeral, after everything was over and we were about to return home, she said something unbelievable. Thank you for taking care of that troublesome old man all this time. Now, I'm finally free. How can you say that at your own husband's funeral? You were always his favorite, weren't you? Who does she think has been taking care of him in his wheelchair? She had quit her job because it was physically demanding. And I had been doing this for 15 years. You must have been sucking up to your father-in-law. I wonder what kind of care you were giving him. I couldn't hold back my anger at these words. Isn't that disrespectful to my father-in-law? Hit a nerve, did I? Enough! You were just after his inheritance. Don't think you'll get a penny from me. Just go away. What? Our relationship had never been good, but this was too much. But I didn't deserve to be spoken to like this. The argument between my mother-in-law, Susan, and me continued to escalate. I refused to back down. So, you're the one after the inheritance? How dare you? Don't be ridiculous. You're the one being ridiculous. Well, you've got some nerve. She raised her arm to hit me. That won't solve anything. So what? You've never been family to me, just a stranger. Then my husband, Sean, who had been watching from a distance, slowly approached. Sean, say something. Yes, tell her. What he said next was shocking. We don't need a greedy woman in our house. Just disappear. Well said. Now you understand your place. She was laughing at me. I thought he was speaking to me. Was I less important to him than his mother? I felt abandoned by my husband. Okay. That was all I could reply. As I turned to leave the funeral, I was stopped. Wait a minute! I turned around. And then, a dramatic turn of events unfolded. My mother-in-law was about to face her downfall by Sean's hand. You seem to be misunderstanding something. The one who should disappear isn't Mia. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Sean sighed and explained. Why would I need to drive Mia out? She has sacrificed so much to take care of Dad until now. So, when you said disappear, you meant. It's obviously you, Mom. Why should I have to leave? Don't you understand? Think about what you've done. She fell silent. I was too confused to fully grasp the situation. So, you were holding me back because? I thought there was no need for that anymore. If you had told me. To deceive an enemy, first deceive your ally. Besides, Mia, you wear your emotions on your sleeve. I see. I was convinced by his words. Then my mother-in-law, who had been quiet, spoke up again. This woman was only kind to Dad because she was after his inheritance. That's why I. Isn't that what you were doing, Mom? What are you talking about? I heard from Dad. You were investigating his savings and other things. That's. So, Dad and I decided. Mom won't inherit anything. At this point, I remembered something. Since Sean returned from his assignment, the secret conversations he had with his father were about this.
That's unacceptable. I have a right to the inheritance too.
Unfortunately, that's not possible. Why not? He took an envelope from his pocket. It was my father-in-law's will. No way. This is his will. Dad anticipated this might happen. He began reading the will, which expressed gratitude towards me. I was moved to tears by his words. And at the end of the will, it was written as follows. After my death, proceed with the disinheritance process. This meant that my mother-in-law would not be able to receive any inheritance.
It's outrageous!
Is it? There are conditions to this, and you've perfectly met them. What conditions? Don't you remember? You left Dad alone, pushed all the caregiving onto Mia, and even went on trips. That's no way. Regretting now is too late. My mother-in-law slumped down on the spot, clutching my husband's leg and pleading with him.
I apologize for this time, please forgive me.
How pathetic it seemed that she would stoop so low at this point. The domineering presence of my mother-in-law, Susan, was nowhere to be found. All I felt for her was pity.
That's impossible. This is Dad's will, and I'm just following his wishes.
Feeling she couldn't sway him, Susan then turned to me in desperation.
Mia, please forgive me. I never really hated you.
No matter how much she apologized, her words did not resonate with me.
I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I will never forgive you for what you've done. Why can't you say anything else when I'm apologizing so much? I'm only stating the obvious. There's no obligation for me to help someone who won't acknowledge their wrongs.
She bit her lip. She must have been so frustrated. As I said earlier, I will respect Dad's wishes and proceed with the legal process.
You're abandoning your own mother?
Don't make it sound so bad.
You dug your own grave, didn't you?
Is there even any evidence? Yes, there is. People saw how you left Dad alone, and the neighborhood knows about the lies you spread. If she had truly reflected on her actions, perhaps things could have been different. But all she did was for her own self-preservation.
What should I do then? Tell me.
It's too late for that now.
Can't you understand? Of course I can't understand.
Sean and I exchanged looks, amazed at her lack of self-awareness.
I don't want to see your face anymore. Don't tarnish Dad's funeral any further.
My husband said this out loud, and she left the funeral home shivering and running away. We didn't return to the in-laws' house, but went to my parents' house instead. Let's go ahead with the legal procedures. Yes. This will fulfill Dad's last wish. We initiated the legal process at the family court. Soon, the process was approved, and she lost her right to the inheritance, with no right to claim any reserved share. Then she showed up at my parents' house.
Do you realize what you've done? That's your own doing. No point blaming us. Sean, are you really going to abandon your mother? A mother who abandoned her father has no place with us. You're despicable.
You're the one being despicable, coming here. But it's pointless now. She tried to hit me again, but he stopped her effortlessly. I can't believe how low you've stooped. He looked sad, yet resolute. No matter how terrible she was, she remains his mother for life. He showed no hesitation in his decision. Enough, Mom. Just leave.
You'll regret this.
No, I won't. If you keep this up, I won't hesitate to call the police.
What a hateful woman.
I'll take that as a compliment. She complained and left. The in-laws' house was officially inherited by my husband. As a result, she lost both her home and family. Given her personality, it seems she's struggling to find employment. She must live with regret for the rest of her life. It's much better now, isn't it? Definitely. It's like a new place. Yeah. Meanwhile, we chose to live in the in-laws' house. We renovated the aged parts, making it much more comfortable. I've etched her actions into my heart, vowing never to become like her.